problem is that we're not
Blacks
telling
here in
the
this
kids
city have
starting
made
to use
significant
drugs earlier
contributions.
in life than they ever have. Welcome to Minority Focus. I'm your host, Jimmie Moore. Thank you for watching, and keep in mind that you can go on the net there and watch all the shows that come out of the school here at www.channel2paducah2.org. It's www.paducah2.org. And people all over the country are able to view the good things that go on here and the good programming that comes out of PCC. Again, welcome. Joining us today is a familiar face to a lot of you, I'm sure. That's Reverend Anthony Walton of Christ Temple Apostolic Church, who's come to Paducah and ingratiated himself into a lot of the goings on. Very involved, very concerned, very caring about what happens with the youth in our city, the adults in our city, the city itself, and does particular work at this station with people who have been incarcerated and trying to better themselves in life. And that's called, tell me that again.
Life after
Life
lockup.
after lockup. Welcome.
How you doing, man? You all right? You okay?
I'm doing all right.
Good,
I've been
good,
watching you.
good.
Been watching you. Put on some really good shows and stuff. Can't recall the people's names, but
I can't recall them all myself anyway.
I'm sure. How long has this been?
It's been about a year and a half now, I think, maybe close to a year and a half that we've been doing this. It's been going on for a little while, and it's really been great. The guests been really good, and I'm hoping that we're getting some messages out there to the people.
And I've just learned recently that the tentacles of your program have even reached as far as Florida.
Yes. Matter of fact, the last guest that came on came all the way from Florida. As a matter of fact, an inmate in the Florida federal prison saw it on, they had access to an internet and saw the show and contacted me, and they contacted this person contacted me, and we got them all the way from Florida just to be on this show the last time.
So I know that even though we're in Paducah, that some of the people that you deal with aren't Paducahans. They're
Right.
from some of everywhere. I know that you spend a lot of time in prisons.
Right.
That you still visit prisons and talk to people. In addition to working with a lot of the young people here, we were talking earlier, and we touched on a subject that I've always been curious about. I know that as a minister, that the Lord gives you particular, special insight into people that you deal with.
Right.
With all due respect, I want to ask, do you find very often that there are people who utilize your show, your services, your helping hand, who aren't on the up and up with what they're doing?
Well, in any kind of profession or any time you're helping people, you're going to always have those that take advantage of the system, take advantage of you, take advantage of your heart, and even take advantage of the ministry. But you have to be called. God has to put something in you that will keep you from quitting, because a lot of times, just in general, you can talk to anybody that's in these kind of positions. Sometimes the people that you help the most, the ones that you spend sleepless nights talking to, praying for, helping financially, sometimes after those people get better or get well, you become the arch enemy number one. Sometimes they don't ever come back and say thank you or anything of that nature. Sometimes they just go on about their life and have no other contact with you. But because of the call of God, it does not deter you from helping the next person that comes up.
For sure. I would imagine that some of those people, can't say a lot, or I'll just say some of those people, start their recovery or their readjustment to life without a solid spiritual basis.
Right.
Is that a conflict sometimes? But they need this assistance, they need your help, they need the assistance that you have to offer, but they don't want any parts of the spiritual thing, even though that's the major part, I think, of recovery. How do you deal with that?
Well, a lot of times when people get to their lowest points, and people have to get to that point, they have to get to that point to where they know that they need some help, and they know that all the things that they've tried has not helped. We cannot go basically to them and try to push God on them at all. They usually come to us. They come looking for some help and knowing basically what we're all about. We have what we call a lifesaver class that we meet every Tuesday at 11:30, and it's basically dealing with people that have any type of life controlling issues, and they come to us. We put the word out, and they come. They know that it's faith based, so we don't take it to them to the point to where God is the only thing that can help you, even though we know that. Right. But we put the advertisement out, and they come knowing that we're going to be God-based. Right. And our job is to let them know that, hey, this is going to be your only way of getting totally delivered.
For sure.
And when they come, they know what they're looking for, right. And we have what we feel like that can help them.
Right. And once you open that door for them, and they see results, or come to understand or accept,
right,
that their help is coming from a higher source than themselves,
right,
then they're more inclined to add that to their life. Period.
Exactly.
Not just for the sake of recovery, or getting out, or pleasing the probation officers and all this sort of thing, but take it into their spiritual selves that this is what's helping them.
And they have to. A lot of times they do come only for the recovery part. Sometimes they do come only for the certificates, because after 8 weeks, we have an eight week course. After 8 weeks, they can get a certificate that helps them to get food stamps, helps them to take them back to court. It's some type of drug rehab type thing that they can use to show that they have completed something. And a lot of times that is what they do it for. They come there just to get that certificate, so they can go back to court and show the judge or show their probation officer that they are trying to do something. But we're hoping, a lot of times it does work, that once we inject God and some type of spirituality into their lives, that it will become a life-changing source.
Right. I don't know, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that anything about spirituality or church or anything like that is specified by the parole board or parole officer or is a part of their parole process, like when they leave prison and come out. It's not insisted that they take part in anything like that.
No, not anything spiritual at all, but it is sometimes demanded or basically part of their parole requirements that they do some type of drug type rehab courses. Sometimes that is part of their parole, but it don't have to do it don't have to do with anything spiritual. Right. It don't have to do. But a lot of times, even when you deal with drug rehab centers, they do say that you need to try to find a higher power, right. But they don't specify what the higher power is. It could be a tree, right. Whatever, but they don't specify. But when they come to us, we do specify that it's the God of all creations, right. And we try to point them to Him. But they know that when they come.
Right. I know that you work very hard, very diligently with the program that you have going on. That you help a lot of kids out. Mm-hmm. That's you. Okay. And that's what the Lord has directed you to do, and you're taking that on. Mm-hmm. What about Paducah? I know there are other programs here and there that don't necessarily offer what you have to offer. Right. Paducah as a whole, are we about trying to help people? Are we about trying to get people into?
It seems like, you got a lot of programs here, and sometimes it seems like some of them are overlapping with each other, but I don't know of a lot of programs that are really geared toward ex-offenders. or even people that are incarcerated. And that's basically my main stream of aid. I try to shoot most of my energy into trying to help people that are in prison to have a better attitude while they're there, to have some type of focus on getting out. And then once they get out, we try to do something to try to help them maintain their freedom. Again, we have an ex-offenders support group that meet every month and at the WC Young Community Center at 5:30 on Monday mornings, every first Monday, 5:30. And we try to help them to maintain some type of discipline about themselves, try to help them find jobs as we can, try to help them keep some type of attitude of staying focused on being free. So, but I don't know of a lot of things that are geared toward that in this city. But there's some problems that I have about some things, some serious problems that I have, and I don't know if anything would change about those things or not.
Right. The offenders, do the offenses run the total gauntlet of offenses from?
Oh, yes, from child molestation, sexual crimes or whatever, all the way to murder, drug addicts or whatever it is that sends a person to prison. We try to help them. We don't discriminate at all. The only thing that they cannot be a part of, we have a Jumpstart program, Jumpstart right next to the church, that we allow people that have gotten out of prison, we let them come and stay for free until they can kind of get on their feet. So an ex-offender that has been incarcerated for sexual offenses can't stay there because it's too close to a daycare and all that. Right. But those are the only times that we have to discriminate like that.
Illegal.
Yeah, the illegal process, right there.
Like having to sign up as an offender and always be monitored.
Exactly.
And all that sort of thing. Is there any? Some people consider certain kinds of crimes minute. You don't put as much emphasis. Some people don't put as much emphasis on A kind of crime as they do Z kind of crime.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
If you get 10 DUIs and you got to serve a year or 2 years or whatever, then that's not as bad as the murderer or whatever. Are you're set for each and every kind of case that may come?
Right, because every case is different, and regardless of the actual crime, there are some underlining factors. Because just because a person is convicted of murder doesn't necessarily make him a murderer. It could have been self-defense, it could have been drug-induced, it could have been some factors involved in that. What we try to do is deal with the person as a person. Right. And I think that's what society does. It puts everybody in the same category, and it is very disturbing to me that once a person goes to prison for whatever they go for, society doesn't seem to forgive them. They don't seem to want to embrace them after they have served the time that they have been given by the system. That they come out, they are labeled as a murderer, labeled as a drug user or whatever, right. And they never forgive them for that.
Right.
And it becomes very difficult for them to put that thing behind them.
Right. Someone was telling me of a case just a little while ago of a lady who had a visitor in her home that fell, hurt their head, and had a splitting headache, and that she had some kind of pain medication there. I said, "Here, take this, and we'll see." And this person wound up going to prison, like a distributor, because of this one kind of, I don't know whether it was Loratab or some kind of strong medication that is sold and whatever. But in trying to help somebody through some pain, it did that, and wound up getting.
And the thing about it, what you have to understand, most people don't understand the system, and it's very hard to itemize everybody's situation. But sometimes people go to prison for some of the strangest things. I deal with the parents, the wives, the children, even those that go to prison. And when you lock a man up at 19 years old, for a small amount of crack. At 19, give him federal time, 10 years maximum, minimum. That man is 29 years old when he get out of prison, or close to 30, and he loses everything. And it's people going to prison now for small things. I'm talking about federal time for some type of conspiracy because they got set up, and they leaving wives and children behind for 10 years or 15 or 20 years for small amounts of things. And most people on the outside don't see what's really going on in the criminal justice system.
I know you spend a lot of time, you used to, I don't know if you still do, spend a lot of time at the courthouse, in some of those court sessions.
Exactly.
Seeing what's going on, and you still see a lot of that.
A lot of that. See, here's my problem. And you didn't ask me what my problem was, but I'm gonna tell you what my problem is. I got some issues because from the police department all the way to the top, it's not a secret. Everybody knows it. We see we see it on the news all the time. There's corruption. We see it. There is somewhere you can read the paper. 2020 Today show is some policemen getting arrested for burglarizing, for falsifying some things. Lawyers getting accused of things. Prosecutors getting accused of things. Even judges getting accused of things. Okay, so you find corruption everywhere, and you get a criminal that goes into that corruption, and he could wind up with life or with no time at all, based on the how much money basically somebody can make. I'm not saying this is happening here in this city,
right,
but I'm just saying it's all over. So I don't have a whole lot of confidence in the criminal justice system at all. And I see a lot of things that are just not right. Things that are just not right happening. How are you going to give a man time and you don't even know the circumstances behind it? He has a public defender that's overworked, that can't really talk to him about what the circumstances were about his case. He has to plead guilty, whether he's guilty or not, because it looks bad on him. If you go to trial, they're going to find you guilty. Why? Because the policeman lied and said that you had this amount or whatever. They're going to take the word of a policeman over your word. So you got to cop out.
Exactly. I saw a program on television here recently that stated at the end of it, I think the state might have been California, that 96% of all people who come before a judge in that state will plea bargain rather than risk guilty, not guilty,
exactly,
whatever. Go ahead and get the plea bargain. You didn't do it, you're not guilty.
But you can't prove it.
But you'll take a bargain for 2 years, because it's going to be worse if you don't.
Exactly.
And it's going to happen.
Exactly.
So you take the bargain, and then you've got all the negatives.
Exactly.
As a result.
Exactly. And this is what happens. This happens more times than what people think. It's like, well, I didn't do it, but I really don't have any proof that I didn't. Right. And once you get that label, and somebody, I had a guy on the show here. He'd already did his time. Still is claiming that the police set him up. Still claiming it. Right. Okay. Well, and this happens. Mm-hmm. Okay. And you are just there to receive whatever they want to give you, and it's a shame because it happens all the time.
For sure. And everybody can't make this phone call to this $1 million attorney, and say, go find this proof I need.
Right. Everybody can't do it.
Yeah, you got but a couple of $300, maybe $500, and you find somebody that's willing to take that. They can work for you, not $500. They're not going to get out there and dig and find and present a case. The first thing they're going to say is take the plea bargain.
Exactly.
And then they get off. They don't have to do any work. They're not going to do it. I don't know if I do it for $500 myself.
It takes work to. Basically, the system says you are innocent until proven guilty. That's a bunch of baloney.
Exactly.
You are actually guilty. You have to prove that you are innocent.
Exactly.
And again, it goes all. It's like full circle. And I work with so many different areas and so many different kinds of people. And again, what happens when you take this plea bargain, whether you're innocent or guilty? You got a label on you. Right. If you go to jail or prison or you get probation, you can't hardly find a job. You can't hardly find a place to stay. I'm dealing with women. Women with children, right, that serve time, 6 and 7 and 8 years in prison, cannot even get housing once they get out. They have to live in a shelter. And then they go to housing and they said that you have to be out for 3 years before we can let you in. What kind of sense does that make?
That's here, Paducah?
Yes, sir. Here in this city, right here in Paducah.
Wow.
I talk to them all the time, and they can't even get housing. It is not even a law. It is just a rule that they have here. It's not state law.
Right.
But they use this rule based on whatever. And these are women. Now I understand men sometimes they can adjust and make some adjustment. Women. These are women that have nowhere to go. Some of them trying to get their children back. They can't even get food stamps sometime unless they go to some type of program that costs money to go to, and they have nowhere to stay and nowhere to get getting any food. And thank God our little program that we have, we don't charge them anything. They can get their certificate and go get food stamps at least. And then that little house that we have, we can let at least 5 people stay there, 3 to 5 people stay there, that at least give them somewhere to go until they can get on their feet.
You weren't caught in the moment just then. You meant that. Women have to actually go to a program they have to pay for in order to qualify to get some assistance in another area.
Exactly.
That's
now how do you get out of prison with nothing and with no job, and you can't even get food stamps to help you survive? And see, this is what people don't understand. Most people on the street, regular citizens, don't understand what an ex-offender has to deal with. Getting convicted, going through the court system, getting convicted, going to prison, and then getting out, trying to survive. Most people don't have a clue, and that record that they have sticks with them for life.
That's the old catch-22 kind of thing where darned if you do, darned if
exactly.
you don't.
There is no way for you to win in a situation like that if the community or if society doesn't help you some kind of way.
So in a lot of cases, the offender repeats.
They have to. Some when I say have to, some of them. Now granted, there are some that need to be in prison. They'll never need to get out because they got criminal minds. They are institutionalized.
Right.
They just won't straighten up. But there are some people that are forced to go back just to survive. Just to survive. And survival mode kicks in after you get frustrated and you have no way to turn. Nobody seems to want to help you, and you get doors slammed in your face at every turn. You get frustrated, and then you started selling dope again just to make money to survive.
Some of us will never understand what it means when people say they didn't have anything else. They literally didn't have anything. The woman who turns to prostitution,
right,
to feed her kids.
Exactly.
Not because that's her nature or whatever, but because that's all she had.
Exactly, and people don't understand that. People really don't understand that. How can you tell a woman that's been in prison for 6 years, that's living in a shelter, that come back in 3 years? How can you do that and sleep at night? A woman now, I can understand not being merciful toward men because men will survive. Yeah. That's unfortunate, but they need help too. But women, this is what I have to deal with. This is what breaks my heart. This is what causes me to really be totally upset, at the system. And not to mention the abuse that they go through in prison. I know you've heard of what's going on at Wheelwright, Kentucky. Sexual misconduct from prison guards.
Exactly.
And then they get out, serve their time, and we can't give them a decent place to stay.
Right.
We can't let them survive by giving them food stamps. So these are the problems I have.
Exactly. I hear it from so many places, so many people that I've had conversations with about the criminal system and whatever, who are in it or not, tend to say, the Commonwealth is a trip. The Commonwealth is a trip. Don't get in the Commonwealth. Go be anywhere, whatever, but not the Commonwealth. So it's not about Paducah, it's the Commonwealth.
Well, I have never really understood what Commonwealth meant until, it's almost like, and I'm not saying this is true, it's almost like we make it up as we go. as we need the law, we'll put it right in, and it'll become a law.
I heard that literally. I heard that literally.
Well, that's where it seems to me, and it's almost like no mercy. And this is just the way I feel. I know I'm not saying that people don't care. I've sat in the courtroom and I've seen judges have mercy. I've seen that. Okay, but I've also seen more non-mercy and compassion than I've seen mercy.
Right.
And I'm sure some of the judges will probably beg to differ, but some things to me, it doesn't make any sense, especially when you go to federal court. If a man cannot even afford an attorney and he has no money, he definitely cannot be a big-time drug dealer.
You wonder.
But you're going to lock him up for 10 years?
For sure. It would make you wonder. The percentages of non-Caucasian people who get the axe, I've understood is much higher, much higher.
Yes, it is much higher.
That's like the country, not just the city, but the country.
And the reason is because they put more emphasis on certain types of crimes that are usually more common among the black community. Right. Are you understanding? Right. The certain crimes warrant more time because it seems to be these are the crimes that happen in the black community. So quite naturally, we're going to get caught more and we're going to do more time because the actual sentences target these types of crimes. That's why they're trying to get this powder cocaine and crack cocaine laws to where they can be more sensible, more equal to one another.
Right.
Because it's the crack cocaine laws that seem to target on the minority, and mostly us.
The cheaper
drug,
the more focus it's going to be in the poor areas, which happen in most cases to be black areas.
Blacks are not exactly minorities.
Minorities, so they do that. Hey, wow, man, this is heavy. I'm learning a whole bunch of stuff right here, right now, and I wish I had a lot of time to do some more. Maybe we'll do it again. One day.
Just let me know.
Your show's going fantastic. I enjoy it. I catch it when I can, and it's a lot of good coming out of it.
Thank you.
And and as I've said earlier, you hit Paducah, running, and you're accomplishing some things. You're well liked, well respected.
God is helping us.
And Paducah appreciates you. Hope you come back.
God is helping us. Thank you so much.
God bless again sometimes.
God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. We hope that you learned something today and put your intellect and whatever you have to use in helping those people who need it. For Minority Focus, I'm Jimmie Moore.